Right, so a new era for Manchester United started with the draw at Ipswich Town. 1-1 it finished in Ruben Amorim's first game in charge. Jamie Carragher is here, and so too Gary Neville, who was watching on at the weekend from afar. Gary, what were your impressions? Were they positive after that first game?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think that we were all intrigued before the game to see how it would go. I think when I saw the team sheet, I worried a little bit about the lack of pace. I think that obviously I wasn't quite sure how they were going to set up, to be honest with you, to begin with, when you looked at the actual 11. But when you saw him on the pitch, you saw Mazraoui, De Ligt and Evans as a back three and Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield, you know full well that five that are at the heart of the team there basically haven't got the pace or the energy, and they've got obviously quite a bit of age between them. So I was worried about how they were going to keep compact and pushing up the pitch and keep that high energy game. And United started well, obviously, but they fell back in a little bit to sort of how they've been recently in the previous months. As the game went on, I thought Ipswich were the better team in the first half, and I think that he obviously used the players that he'd been working with most in the training that hadn't been away with internationals, and that obviously reflected the fact that the team he picked. But I think moving forward, you'll see a lot stronger performance level when obviously the players who are, I think, probably higher energy and younger come into that 11.
Before the manager came in, Gary, you've been speaking about Manchester United going to a back three. You think it would have helped them under Erik Ten Hag. Who do you think would be the winners in the squad in terms of changing to this system?
I mean, I think Luke Shaw, if he can keep fit, because I think that ideally you play sort of that left centre-back can play sort of to, can go out, that left centre-back and right centre-back have got to be able to go out and play right back and left back, I think. So obviously we saw Mazraoui do it yesterday. I think Ugarte will be a winner, not just because I think in midfield, just because he's played for him before. I think it's how you fit in the likes of Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes. Because one thing you know with that system, you've got two wing backs, you've got a back three, and you've got a two in front. It's then that three, which obviously the two that he likes to play sort of come inside a little bit. So you're wondering about sort of Ahmad played obviously wide yesterday, but Garnacho, Rashford, Højlund, Xerxes, Fernandes, that's the conundrum of those attacking positions where I can't quite see what's going to happen. I think Mainu and Ugarte, for me, play in midfield. I think they're absolute certs. I think Luke Shaw's a certainty to play. I think he would be anyway in a back four or a back three. I think ultimately you'll end up with Yoro as the right centre-back. I think just because of that energy and that pace. So I think the winners will be the ones who I think are adaptable, who can maybe sort of, if you like, interchange from a 3 to a 4. Because when we played with the back 5 with Terry Venables or a back 3 with Glenn Hoddle, the outer full, the outer centre-backs do have to be able to go out wide. So I think the ones who are more flexible and agile are going to be the winners.
He's made it very clear, Gary. I think he said it to you as well. There is only one way, and that is his new way. Is there going to be some short-term pain?
I mean, I think that will have hit him straight away when he saw that performance. I mean, at the end of the game, we saw the stat that was put on us in the post-match from Sky, where it showed that United ran 102k, which I think was obviously pretty low. The lack of energy. I mean, he said to me in the interview on Thursday that the one thing that he wants to change straight away is the athleticism of this team and the athleticism of the squad. I don't think he was just referring there to getting them fitter. I think he was actually referring to actually them just running more. I spoke to him about his Sporting Lisbon team and the fact that they were just a high-energy team. They were all absolute sort of dogs when they were out of possession. And you look at that Manchester United team, they haven't got good standards out of possession, whether that's in the last 6 months or whether that's in the last 2 years. They just don't have the level of work that the teams in the league seem to have, and that yesterday was apparent again. So I think there is a real issue that's obviously Ruben Amorim at the end of that game will know a lot more than he would have done before the game in respect of just looking at the lack of energy in that team compared to what he would ordinarily have expected back in Portugal with the team he managed.
Looking at Marcus Rashford, he decided to go with him right through the middle, and the debate was, could he play in one of those number 10 positions? Do you think right now, because the fact he brought Højlund on for him, it is actually one or the other? Because you're talking about your guy who's probably your highest paid player there in Marcus Rashford, and also a young striker who's still trying to find his way at Manchester United, but is also coming for a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look back at the fact that most of the Manchester United managers in the last 5, 6, 7 years have played Marcus Rashford as a left-sided striker, left-sided forward. That's where I think he's best, just purely because there's two things. I think to play centre forward in a football team on your own, you have to be, I think, intelligent and understand where to be and sort of when to be there. And I don't think Marcus plays like that. I think he's more instinctive. And you also have to be really good at holding the ball up and being able to bring people into play, which I don't think is his strength either. His strength is always when he's got space in front of him or he's running through on that left side. So again, I'm not quite sure how that fits. And I think you're right. We saw yesterday, after 65 minutes, even though obviously Marcus had scored a goal, that he brought on Xerxes and Hoyland, obviously trying to get both of them in. But you're right. I think it'll be one or the other. I don't think you'll be able to get. I don't think you'll be able to get both of them in the team unless he plays Marcus a bit wider on the left. He could do that, but I think Garnacho probably is more suited to coming into pockets. Marcus is not a player who comes into pockets. So I think that will be a concern to play him on that left-sided sort of, if you like, position that that Ruben Amorim likes.
Gary, I know it's only one game, but were there any big red flags for you in terms of individual performances or the way this system was working?
I mean, red flags. The red flags that were there yesterday would have been there probably for the last few months and the last season and a half of a team that are very difficult to actually like watching. And I say that with respect because I genuinely do believe what Ruben Amorim said at the end of the game. No football player goes out onto the pitch and wants to lose or not, doesn't want to win or work hard or do well. They don't want criticism. But you watch them play, even yesterday in a new system, and you look at Ipswich, who are very near the bottom of the league, who look more organised, better coached. They look like they've got more appetite for the game, more enthusiasm. And that's a constant and has been a constant, not just obviously on Sunday, but a constant for the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. So we've got to a situation where these group of players, to be honest with you, have created a pattern for themselves and have become what they are. And not just a red flag yesterday, because the same things that we've seen in the last 6 to 8 months, 10 months, we saw yesterday with Ruben Amorim being the manager. He saw it as well. I think he obviously knew how big a job this was. I think he'll have recognised it yesterday. It will get better in the next few weeks because, like you say, that back five that he picked, and I'm not talking about the actual wing backs here, I'm talking about the 3 at the back and the 2 in midfield, that will become more energetic and better, the sort of personnel, when the personnel changes occur. But there's a long way to go. I think Roy yesterday called Manchester United an average team, and that's being kind.
Yeah, that did seem a bit damaging, didn't it? We were looking at the fixtures before as well, Gary. It seems like they're playing every 3 days pretty much, all the way through till January. Do you think in an ideal world, Ruben Amorim would like to draw a curtain in front of his team so no one can actually see what's going on in the short term?
Yeah, he did an interview after the game where he talked about, I've got to try and change this straight away. There's no point in me waiting until I get a free period and I can work with them for a couple of weeks. He's got games every 3 days. He's trying to basically coach, get to know a team, bring a brand new system into play whilst he's playing every 3 days. And obviously we all know how difficult that is. So the manager at this moment in time and the coach, it isn't like what happened with Ange Postecoglou when he had the pre-season at Spurs and he had time to be able to work with them. It's very different. We have got to go easy on, I think, Ruben Amorim in this next few months because he's trying to really change so much and get to know the players and get to know the club that we're going to see, I think, turmoil, pain, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to see some of the same results emerging that we've seen in the last 18 months that have cost Erik ten Hag his job. But we've just got to go with it. I think United fans, I'd like to think that when the best 11 are out there that United have got in that new system, that they will be really competitive with every team in the league. And I think that could happen in a few weeks. But I think we're going to see some sort of bad results along the way because yesterday, they seemed to run out of energy. I mean, he had to make 4 or 5 changes in that game yesterday to try and get the energy back up. Because obviously what he was watching out on the pitch would have seen them beaten against Ipswich, I think, if he'd have left it as it was.
Gary, what does success look like in the next few months for Manchester United, or even from now to the end of the season?
Success would be to see a team that's really got an enthusiasm, an energy, a confidence and a fighting spirit in there and getting the players all sort of, if you like, together and with some sort of level of understanding. I mean, I don't think you can even talk about trophies or top 4 at this moment in time. I think it would be arrogant to do so. Even though United won 2 trophies in the last couple of years, I think my view would be that that Ruben Amorim, in 6 to 8 months' time, knows which players he wants to keep on the bus, knows which players he wants to get rid of, changes them quite quickly, and ends up with a team that starts next season that, to be fair, has got a level of running enthusiasm, energy, athleticism, and level of quality and talent that can basically get back up into the top 4. I mean, Cara, we both had Manchester United in the top 4 at the start of the season, didn't we?
I don't think I did.
I'm not sure Jamie did.
I think you did, my friend.
I know I didn't. My friend.
Who did you have in? That's City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Who was your third?
I put Tottenham in.
Did you?
Yeah.
And we've got it documented somewhere, Gary. we can show you.
Anyway, I know he had them in the top. I know he had them in the top 5. He didn't have them in the 13. And to be honest with you, it's been an absolute shock of where they're at this moment in time. I can't believe with the summer that they had, the players they brought in, that they've deteriorated to this level. But I'm hoping a new manager. Yesterday was more of the same, but I do think that's just purely because he picked the players that he'd been working with for a week or so. And that we'll never see Casemiro, Eriksson, Mazraoui, Evans, and De Ligt play as a 5 again in those important positions. I just don't think that'll happen. So when you get Agati in there, you get Mainu in there, you get Yoro back in there, you get Luke Shaw at left centre back. I do think all of a sudden there will be a different level of performance, and I think we'll see a sort of, if you like, a better level straight away. So that'll be the immediate, and then in the next few months, just finding out about the players and getting into as good a position as he can for the end of the season. But I'm not expecting top 4 at this moment in time or a trophy this season.
Well,
and that's just not me being defeatist.
I mean, Gary, we spoke a couple of weeks ago and you mentioned that you weren't going to change your view on Arsenal for the title. Are you going to change your view on Manchester United for the top 4?
I think so, yes, on that now. I mean, I think Arsenal, I still feel quite strongly. I've got a great chance of winning the title. I'm a lot less confident that Manchester United will finish in the top 4. If they did, it would be an unbelievable achievement. But that for me, you feel like you watch 6, 7, 8 teams at the moment that are better than Manchester United. There'd have to be a complete shift of performance in this next few months for that to occur. And I don't think United fans are expecting that at this moment in time. He's
certainly got a job on, hasn't he? The good news is, Gary, that Jamie's promised to go really lightly on Manchester United from here on, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the new manager. I like the cut of his jib. He speaks well. I thought he spoke really well to Roy and the gang yesterday on the side of the pitch. We're going to have a little look at the system tonight and the pros and cons of it, and hopefully it continues as it did at Portland Road.
What did you think of it, Cara, in terms of this? I thought in the first 10 minutes, I know it's only 10 minutes, but there were some patterns that happened in the play, in the passing combinations I thought were quite okay. I can see there's been a little bit of something worked on there. Obviously, it faded away a little bit as the sort of game went on, but I thought there were things in the first 10, 15 minutes that looked okay.
No, I agree with you. And listen, if you watch the show tonight, you'll see that because you don't like coming on anymore, do you? So maybe, do you watch it?
I'll be watching it, yeah.
Thanks for that.
In between my spaghetti bolognese.
It's just such a difficult job, isn't it, for him to turn up during an international break, inherit these players, not sure of the fitness of them, you're not sure when these guys are coming back, and expect him to have an instant impact.
Do you know something, Dave? When he actually said that he turned it down originally, or the rumour was he turned it down originally because he said, no, I want it at the end of the season. He was told, no, it's now or never. And he was given that ultimatum. I mean, I feel for him because, going into a job partway through a season where you've got game every 3 days, how does he even think to sort of instill, when players are on rest and recovery, basically, they're playing on a Wednesday evening, or Thursday evening, sorry, which it was Wednesday evening. They're playing on a Thursday evening. They've then got the rest day Friday, sort of Saturday's a little bit second-day recovery. Then you're playing again Sunday, then back to it again Thursday after. It's going to be really tough for him. And there's no doubt that all of us, including the fans, will give him an easy ride for the next 6 months, because we know full well that he's got very little chance to get the very best out of his team and his squad in this period. He hasn't had any time to work with them. And it is going to be difficult, and there'll be some pain. And I think that, to be fair, that will be recognised, I think, by everybody. Did
you say to Valencia you prefer to come in at the end of the season rather than the middle?
You know something? I mean, I know I've said this to you privately, which is why you just poked me there. But it's true. So after Christmas, we had the Christmas break. I didn't have one free week from the first week back in January to the day that actually I was sacked, which was, I think, in sort of mid-March. I had literally, because we were in the, we got to the semi-final of the Copa del Rey and we got to the quarter-final of the Europa League. I had a game every 3 days.
It sounds like you did all right.
No, but I'm talking here I'm talking here from a very short period of time, and I'm not talking in reflection of sort of comparing myself with Ruben Amorim at all. But do you know something? Do you know what happened was, because we were losing, and obviously United are losing or drawing at this moment in time, it wasn't even the break from a mental break or a physical break. And the press conferences kept coming every 3 days, It's like, whoa, how do you get off this roundabout that you're spinning on? So it will be like that a little bit in the next couple of months for Ruben Amorim, but obviously he's got a lot more experience, a lot more quality, he knows exactly what he wants to do. And, you know, I think that he'll come through it, and he'll obviously have some time because he needs time.
Ipswich Town 1, Manchester United 1. That is how Ruben Amorim's first game as Manchester United finished. His team came flying out the traps and got that early goal through Marcus Rashford, but it was Hutchinson who levelled things out, and that is how the game finished. Afterwards, Ruben Amorim had this to say: "It is a tough league. My players were thinking too much during the game. You can feel it, not just on the ball, but where they are supposed to be on the pitch. We are going to suffer for a long period, and we will try to win games. This will take time. I know we have to win games." Has he realised now that it will take longer than he was thinking, or did he already know?
I think he already knew. Listen, and a lot has been made of Amorim's preferred formation of 3 at the back, and while it wasn't too much of a departure from what we've come to see of Manchester United against Ipswich, I think he's kind of inching towards his preferred way of playing football. And with that comes everybody, not just the defenders, but everybody having to take up different positions and play different roles where for different scenarios on the park. That comes with time. It's not going to happen in the first game. And we knew that. We knew Amorim is not going to come in and all of a sudden it's going to be Manchester United of 98-99 that eclipsed Newcastle at the top of the Premier League, that 14-point league. We knew it wasn't going to be that version of Manchester United. This is part of the process, and I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone who really has been paying attention.
Frank, how hard is it to learn a new system as a player like this in the middle of the season when a new coach comes in?
I'm sorry, as a football player, you have to be ready to accept any changing of tactics, and playing at 3 at the back or 4 at the back, it's just a kind of an understanding between the players. It's all about the 3 at the back, and I listened to Stevie yesterday during the show. He was explaining everything perfectly in a way that the 3 players have to slide from one side to another, and the 2 wing backs have to make sure that they work a little bit but don't come too down, because otherwise it's not a 3-4-3, it's just a 5-2-3. It doesn't mean anything, it's not the same system. So they have to understand that. Maybe Amad Diallo is a little bit too young, but Diallo on the other side should understand that. But it's really up to the 3 at the back to slide from left to right in order to compensate the fact that they're not 4, they are only 3. But come on, it's not a big deal. And I didn't see that yesterday. We already said before the game that it would be a problem because they don't have the individuals maybe for that. They're not fast enough to cope with that. They don't understand maybe enough that tactic, but really it's not really a big deal. It should click very quickly, or otherwise they will have big problems.
Do you know, we always talk about the difference of the new era, of the new football. And one of the worst things about the new era and the new football is that players today have to be spoon-fed. Players today need to be told exactly every single thing they need to do all the time, because they don't take the responsibility of working it out for themselves. You know, Frank's talking about when he played, and I played the generation before Frank, where you had to work it out yourself. You were helped along and you were told, but you had to work it out on the field. Because when the game starts, you don't have a manager sitting there spoon-feeding you all the information. You can't keep looking at the bench and keep looking around, and you've got to figure it out quickly. And when you play for Manchester United, you better have a football brain that is able to do that. But unfortunately, it looks like not just Manchester United players, but too many players today, the younger guys in particular, they can't handle something like this, a whole new change. You know, you've got to embrace it, and you've got to use the football intelligence you have to make the best of it until it becomes natural.
Let me say, I disagree a little bit. I think while that is true when your defenders are Nickel and Hansen or LeBouf and Desai, but when you're talking Mazraoui and De Ligt and Evans and Lissandro Martinez, that's a different conversation altogether. So while I get the point that, yes, modern-day footballers should be able, or sitting back in the day, you could make that change. Good footballers could make that change quite easily. I've played in teams where we couldn't make that change in the drop of a hat as they are today. And again, this is not Manchester United of old. This is the Manchester United that are sitting, what they 14th, with good reason. Because they aren't good. Because they can't make those changes. This, for me, I think, while I get the point that Frank and Steve are making, I don't think this team can.
Well, obviously, they are in the bottom half of the table.
I just want to say, just to give you an example, when we had to play at Old Trafford, at Anfield Road, against Liverpool, and you had somebody like Michael Owen who was very fast and everything, we used to play a 3 at the back because we had, I think it was Fowler and Michael Owen, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe somebody else with Michael Owen, but we wanted two centre-backs to mark them and me to cover those 2 players. So we play at 3 at the back to make sure we cannot get the counter-attack, because we knew that they would put pressure on us, and we wanted to offer a possibility of counter-attack being higher on the field. But we had 2-3 training sessions to work on that. We knew how Michael Owen was working, and we had to deal with that. And we had Albert Ferrell, which was a right back, playing left centre back. That was the personnel we had, but he was an international Spanish player, smart enough to understand how Michael Owen was working and being able to cope with the situation 3 days after working on it. So it's why I say, yeah, it's maybe not the former time, but we are talking about international players. De Ligt, Evans, Mazraoui are international players. They should be able to cope with that.
Ian, I want to bring you into this conversation, especially with the fact that he said they're thinking too much, which is understandable when it's players trying to play in a new system. But as mentioned, we are coming up to the middle-way point of the season. This is a precarious time to be bringing a new system into a team that needs to be climbing up that table.
Yeah, it is, but that's what he does, and that's why they've appointed him, and it's going to take, miracles take time, don't they? It's going to take time for this team to evolve. It's good he's got Luke Shaw fit again, because he can play left of a 3 at the back. They've still got Maguire to get fit again, and they've got this guy they spent 50 million on, Lenny Yoro, who's not played so far, but he's surely going to get in the team. They haven't spent that kind of money on him to leave him rotting on the bench. So it will be interesting. There will be extra personnel to play with. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take at least, I think, to the end of this season and into next for Amorim to have this team playing and imbue his ideas, his tactics, his mentality more than anything, and start a new culture at Manchester United. It's a long job, and it's probably not going to happen overnight. Well, it's definitely not going to happen overnight.